want to show you a little bit about them because this is a great survival food when you're out in the desert. Prickly pear cactus range from, according to Michael Moore, from British Columbia, Canada, down through Mexico and as far east as the Allegheny Mountains. So it's pretty plentiful and available in most regions of the country. There are several different types and varieties. All of them are useful, especially to the survivalists, for food and for medicine. There are people who will harvest these pads without wearing gloves, but I prefer to wear gloves. It's real important to protect yourself when you're out in a survival situation, because even a small cut or wound can turn into a big problem for you later on. So I recommend that you use some gloves, especially when it's your first time harvesting. I did bring one other little tool here, and that's a pair of tongs. If this were summertime and the fruit was on the prickly pear, the easiest way to harvest it is with a pair of tongs. And you grab the fruit and you twist and it comes right off. The fruit is very much desired for jellies and syrups. Has that beautiful red color. It's used in mixed drinks, especially throughout Mexico and other places. But the pads themselves are also a good food and hydration source. I'm going to show you two ways to remove the spines from the pads so that you can safely get them off. This is a lava rock. You can pick it up most places around the countryside. I like using it because of all the holes and crevices. It takes a little less effort to get the spines off. And then I just use another rock on the back to hold it so that the spines don't get me. It's not these big spines that are going to cause the problem for you, generally speaking. They will poke, and they are definitely sharp. But it's the little hair-like ones that cause the problems. Those are a little barbed spine. And second way to remove spines from these pads is to hold near the base. It doesn't have as many spines down there. And just take your knife and kind of flick them off. And you can remove them pretty easily and quickly that way. You'll notice that at the base of these long spines is where those little hair-like ones are that cause the problems. When you're looking for one that you're going to want to eat, what you want is the younger pads. The farther down toward the bottom you go of the plant, the harder and coarser and less desirable that they are. So you're going to want to look for pads that are out near the ends. In a little bit, we'll show you how to open it up and actually get the gel out of the inside, which is desirable for many different medicinal purposes, from bites, stings, sunburn. I've read that it's more effective than aloe vera is on sunburn. So when you're out in the desert, that's a pretty useful thing to know about. Well, now that we're back down to some flatter ground and it's easier to work with a cactus pad, I'll show you how you extract the mucilaginous material out of the center of it. I want to give you a couple other words of caution. If you're going to eat this, it's real important, and you're not going to skin it, I should add. It's real important that you get all these fine hairs out. So I would recommend that you do go ahead and cut the outer crust off, because a lot of them tend to congregate along this outer edge. And the last thing you need is to get some of those hairs in your lips or your gums, and you're out there where you don't have a mirror or anyone to help you get it out of those very tender parts. I did mention that this was good for bites and stings. That does include poisonous snake bites, which Arizona has 13 different varieties of rattlesnakes. But as my herbal mentor says, it ain't the apocalypse. If you're where you can get to medical help and you get bit by a rattlesnake, it's probably a good idea to go get some help. But this will help. And if you're in a situation where you're not near medical help, this is going to be your go-to thing to take care of it.
Ready?
You can actually use the pad itself as a poultice. Once we cut this open, I'll show you the inside of it, and you could lay it right over the top of your sting or snake bite. and strap it down with some fabric, strips of fabric, and hold it in place. If you're going to do that, it's recommended that you change that poultice every hour, because the properties that are in this are very drawing, and it's going to draw a lot of the heat and things out of it that are causing you to have the problems from the encounter. So don't forget, change your poultice every hour. One last word: practice. Practice this before you need it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is take my knife and come in around the circumference of this, about 1 inch deep. Okay, and you take your fingers up here where you've cut in. If you look down in there, you can see the strings of the material, and just reach in and pull that open. Okay, here we go. Now, if you're out in the woods, you can just take your fingernails and go in here and scratch it up to be able to extract your the material that you want. If you have it, fork works real good. So you just kind of take and score the pad. You want to remove these are very fibrous, thick strings. You don't want those in your gel. So we'll just discard those. And then you can kind of take your fork or even your knife and scrape this up. You can see those fibers in there. This is the part that you want. Okay, pull those out of there. This is very, very gooey and sticky. In the summertime, when these are at their peak, they're going to have a lot more of this material in them than we're getting out this late in the season. So that's all there is to it. As you score it up, the more you score it, the more you're going to get out of it. But even if you're going to use this as a poultice, be sure that you do trim the edge. You can see right here on the edges where those hair clusters are. You want those cut off. And you're going to still want to score it before you were to lay it over a wound that you were trying to heal. This will also work for burns. If you had your campfire and you burned your hands or something, picking up a pot because you didn't have your hot pad, or you know, some other way, this will also help soothe and heal burns much faster. Try to stay out of trouble out there, but if you get into it, don't forget your friend, the prickly pear cactus.
That'll work.